That's safe to say, Brian. Am I right about that?
Yeah, business might be a bit generous, but yes, that's fairly accurate.
Great drummer and all that. And Matthew, are you Matt or Matthew today? Which one?
Let's do Matt.
Okay. Well, Matt, still active in the music business, and the topic that we're talking about, the downtown in Farmingdale, actually played. How many times would you say? In the 5 to 10 range?
Definitely more than that. I'd say over a dozen.
Over a dozen times, and I'm sure went to a bunch of gigs there besides just playing there, right?
Absolutely.
Got it. So, Matt, tell us about playing the downtown. Is it as great or as fun as I think it would be?
The downtown, from my recollection, was the place on Long Island. If you weren't playing there, you weren't part of the scene. If you were playing there, you had a good foot in the door. And I just remember it being like the gathering spot for everybody to kind of come together, which was really nice. The place itself was a pretty big stage. Like it was like one of those. It was a mid-sized venue, but it had a really nice big stage, so the bands would really enjoy performing there. Dealing with management, but I just remember I have a lot of great memories from going there, and then people coming together, meeting a lot of still some of my best friends today at the venue, and so it being the gathering spot for all things Long Island.
Do you remember offhand any of the bands that your band opened for at the downtown? Anyone that we, the commoners, might be fans of?
Midtown, if I remember correctly. Sure. 9 Days. There was that ska band. I think we were talking about them on the last cast that we were on.
Streetlight Manifesto?
Zebrahead.
Oh, Zebrahead. Okay, now the first band that you mentioned, Midtown, most people might go, I don't know Midtown, even though they're on a major label, but the singer wound up forming a really big band called Cobra Starship. Didn't they win an MTV Video Music Award at one point?
They had Snakes on the Plane with Samuel L. Jackson movie and the girl from The Sounds.
Yeah, Maya Iverson. Okay, yeah. So what that gets me to is, what would you say, Danham held 400 people, 500 people, something like that?
I think it was 550.
550.
Maybe 500. You may be right on that.
He read his contracts. So what I'm getting at is, you look at the bands who played there over the 3-4 years the downtown was a thing, and you go, there was Fall Out Boy.
Hold on, it was just 3 or 4 years, you said? That's it?
I remember maybe, Brian, do you have any recollection when we went to see Stella with Michael Ian Black, what year that was? You were back from college, right?
Yeah, maybe 2005.
2005, okay. I don't remember, Matt, it being there more than, say, 03 to 06, 07.
Okay. You could be right on that too. I wouldn't put it past you. You know everything, Darren. Anything Long Island, Darren knows, and he remembers every small little detail, and I'm so impressed every time I talk to him.
You're too kind. The feeling is more than mutual there. But
so if I could butt in for a second, the venue opened. This is according to the Long Island Music Scene Wiki.
Okay.
Sponsored by Fandom.
I'm on there, Brian.
The venue opened on December 21st, 2001, and sent out an email on their mailing list on September 19th, 2005, announcing their closing.
Okay.
Really? 2005 it was done?
Well, they announced it in September 2005. So that doesn't mean that it closed on that date, but perhaps it was announced in maybe a few months after that.
And then the Crazy Donkey just had their doors wide open. They were like, yeah, man, here we go.
The Crazy Donkey was out within like a year and a half of the downtown, if I remember correctly.
I think they overlapped, no?
Yeah, they were open at the same time for a little bit, but neither of those were still there. And actually, no, I did see They Might Be Giants in the Crazy Donkey. I'm going to say in 08 or 09. So maybe it did. You're totally right, Matt. See, I was not right. You were right. So there you go.
I'll take one.
You'll take one.
Yeah.
So what I'm getting at with the downtown is it was this club venue. And then you look at a lot of the bands who played there within that 4-year period. And a lot of them went on to be arena artists or huge Beacon Theater kind of artists, like somebody along the lines of, say, Joe Bonamassa.
Or My Chemical Romance.
My Chemical Romance. Fozzy, technically, that Chris Jericho is the singer of that band. Maroon 5, I remember, played at the
Fall Out Boy.
Yeah. The Fake Misfits played there like probably 3 times. Matt, by any chance, did your band play on a billing with the Fake Misfits?
We didn't make it that big, but by the way, do you remember the actual real name of the venue?
Dave Glicker's Downtown.
That's it.
Yes, I had the pleasure of working with Dave Glicker. I'm going to say in 06, 07. I should reach out and say hi.
Was it a pleasure?
It was a pleasure.
I've only heard stories. I mean, I've met him a number of times, but we didn't have any type of close relationship at all, but I'm just curious.
Well, it's interesting that not only did a lot of the bands who worked at the downtown go places, but do you remember Adam Weiser from the downtown?
Yeah, I still, once in a while we go back and forth on DM or something, but yeah.
Top guy with AEG, or is it Live Nation?
AEG.
Right. So here we have this little venue on Long Island that is kind of forgotten about by most people, which is a tragedy. But then you think about all these great long-term things in the industry wouldn't have happened had it not been for the downtown. I think that was Adam's first real job.
I think it was. He always gave us crap all the time. Like we were from a band that we actually did draw a lot of people, like because we were like high school kids or like fresh out of high school. I don't remember what it was at the time. We always had a lot of fans. We were young kids, so we attracted young kids. So we would come in and we would play for full houses. So Adam loved us coming, but then he always gave us crap about everything.
Like what?
I don't remember the specifics of it, but it was like, oh yeah, you want to play here? Like too good for too cool for school. So I always thought that was really funny because it was like the downtown, and now looking back at it, I was like, it was just funny, and he was just messing with us half the time. It was like his way of being friendly and stuff was, kind of having that Long Island shoulder thing.
You were not the only school bus band. I remember Pat and Pending winning a battle of the bands at the downtown by actually renting a school bus and bringing in all their friends from school.
I remember that too. Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Guys as well. I think they're still a band.
Still a band, and the bassist is in Bowling for Soup, right?
And now Scott Waldman is managing somebody with the singer from Bowling for Soup.
Exactly. So what we're getting back to is Long Beach / Lido Beach and the downtown are responsible for all these large scale things, and it's not being documented, which is one of the reasons why we do this every month or so. And Brian, I'm trying to think about this as the host of the Attendance Bias podcast, the number one fish rated related podcast in the world, right? Fact?
If you say it. If you say so.
Weren't there some fish related events at the downtown, maybe like after show kind of things that maybe when Fish played the Coliseum, the downtown would kind of swoop in and have?
I don't remember, because for the years that it was in operation, if those dates are correct, from 2001 to 2005, Fish was not together for much of that. They broke up from the fall 2000 until February or January 2003. So I don't remember after shows being there, and I was in college in Buffalo at the time, so I wouldn't have been as in touch with what was going on in Farmingdale or on a quote unquote scene on Long Island, for especially in that arena. But there really wasn't much of a scene as far as Fish kind of set the pace for in the beginning of the 2000s, because they just weren't around. They weren't together.
Well, you see, Matt, I don't know everything, and I didn't know everything because the Fish hiatuses were not too high on my radar, unfortunately.
Luckily, we have Brian here, so
yeah, I'm here to fact check all that stuff.
Exactly. When I think about the downtown, initially I just think of a gig or two, and then I think about the fact that there was that backstage door that never had a rope around it, and most of the time never had a security guard staying in front of it. So if you were one of those kind of people that felt like, yeah, I belong, and you looked the part and you just walk down the stairs, you could meet a lot of your favorite artists.
I think that's true for I think that's true for a lot of venues of that size, like larger clubs. I think that's just the case, Long Island or not, that if you act the part, no one's going to question it when they can barely probably afford or care to hire a proper bouncer or security person at the back door.
Even if you do have the bouncer, like, if you kind of fit in and you just go with the flow, I think that you're good. Like you could get in anywhere, really. You get into the Capitol.
Yeah. Unfortunately, you're right.
Unfortunately, you're right about that. And I still have to find it in my archives, quote unquote. I don't know if you call a bunch of shoe boxes that you have in a storage space archives. For the purpose of this conversation, we will. I think I have Gilby Clarke from Guns N' Roses having autographed a pizza plate for me, or a flyer. I know that's somewhere. I'd have to go through the archives, but
that was from the downtown.
That was at the downtown. They were putting them on at 12 or 1 a.m. after a bunch of local bands, and I think maybe 15 people watched Gilby Clarke play, and it's just waiting around like, when do I go on? You go, that guy played stadiums with Guns N' Roses for years.
Do you remember when he was on that show Rockstar as like a judge? And my friend Ryan Starr was on the show, and I think we talked about him last time. He was the lead singer from Stage.
Yes.
And that was another band that we definitely played at the downtown with.
Stage, who was on MCA Records, or was it Warner Brothers?
It was Maverick.
Maverick, technically Warner. I'm not Brothers. Fully wrong right there. Yeah. But I think that's a key to what you were talking about. A lot of Long Island bands, this came up the last time, there's a lot of Long Island bands that got signed that we don't think of as being really successful per se, but they made it. They had that album or two, they had that video or two on MTV or VH1, they toured, they led on to other projects, and Stage is one of them, and Ryan Starr was on TV for that. He was a top 10 finalist, right?
Yeah, something of that nature. And he also had a great solo career also prior to that. And now he runs a company called Station Head, so he's still in the industry.
Matt, I'm curious from a performance point of view at the downtown, was it the sort of thing where you had to sign on with maybe 4 other bands, and when the fans came in, they had to kind of tell the bouncer or whoever at the door, tell them which band you're there to see, and that you as the artist had to bring in X number of fans or X number of patrons, and then that's like up to 10, and then after that, then you split it maybe 60-40. Is that how it worked? Because that's how it was in most clubs in New York City at the time.
I think that's what it was, but we were also given tickets as well. Not that we had to pay for the tickets, but here, you're responsible for this many tickets. And then you could sell as many as you want, and then you keep X amount of money, and then you return the ones that you don't sell, which seemed to work well for us at the time. And it was smart for the club. I think like the thing in hindsight is that, the club has so many expenses also. And so as a kid, you don't think about any of this stuff. So, I always thought like we were being, the wool was being pulled over our eyes with the amount of money that we gave to them. But I think that at the end of the day, you want that place to continue being in business. I don't think that they were like raking in the profits, like, so I have a different outlook now, especially now that I'm on the business tip of the industry. It's like a total different ball game. So I'm way more understanding of the past. But yeah, that's definitely a thing. They had the check marks if you came into that band.
Yeah, but on the big clipboard.
Yeah, on the clipboard, it was always like handwritten, and did they tell the truth? Did they not? You kind of had to like make friends with the person who was doing the door, like give them the eye. Maybe we would always throw that person maybe like $20 or like $40, and just be like make sure that it's accurate, or and the sound guy too. Like you would. You wouldn't normally tip a sound guy, I don't think, but we did because we wanted to make sure that the sound was also halfway decent.
Yeah, what you just said, I've heard blowback of, wait, you didn't tip the sound guy. I've heard that before, but the part about the being given tickets on consignment, the exact opposite I also heard with the downtown. We have, JT Turret, I assume.
Yeah,
Okay,
great guy.
JT is another guy who maybe his first or second job was the downtown, and before COVID, every Billy Joel, why can't I talk today? Billy Joel show at the Garden, JT's working backstage, and every Jones Beach show you could think of, JT is there. And I remember Sprout was his band, as managed by Adam Weiser, and I remember being at a late night party out of nowhere at JT's parents' house, and him going, "Do you want to see Dee Snider?" I'm like, yeah, sure.
Of course.
Do you want 2 tickets, 10 tickets? I'm like, 5? And he's like, here you go. Oh. So I think there was some shows where the ticket counts were totally honest and by the books, and other shows it's like, let's give out 900 tickets so hopefully 60 people come.
Well, I think that they were making the majority on obviously booze, especially for a Dee Snider show. I mean, the ones that we were playing, it was all young kids, so they're not making any money there. They need to make sure that they make money on the tickets. But for Dee Snider, you can give away tickets all day long.
Yeah, he's what they call a soft ticket artist, where people are, to use an industry old school kind of term, people are so used to seeing these artists at fairs, state fairs, festivals, colleges, and not paying to see these people, but being psyched to see them at those, that you then go, hey, do you want to see this person who had these 8 hits? Sure, $10. Oh, I'll wait to see them at the town of Massapequa Park.
Is Dee Snider cool, by the way?
I've interviewed him like twice, and I worked for his old manager, and he's one of those guys that might be tough to work with as an industry person, but he's awesome with fans.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm talking about with that?
Yeah, no, he's difficult, but he's all about the people that are supporting him.
Yeah, he's amazing for charity and benefits, but if you're in the industry and it's kind of like, you misspelled D or Snyder, you call him D Schneider. I don't think he's happy about that.
He's pretty awesome with VH1 also. He seems to be on there every other hour.
Yeah, he
has a personality for it.
Lucrative career doing the voiceovers for MSNBC and GMC trucks and that kind of stuff. He did well.
Was he on that Trump show or no?
Celebrity Apprentice?
Yeah.
I think he was.
I'd believe it. I don't know either way, but I would believe it for sure.
I'm going to go on a limb here and say Dee Snider is one of the most successful people ever that people don't realize is successful, because like Celine Dion recorded one of his songs, and that same song was recorded on this Rosie O'Donnell album that sold millions of copies. So he had this mansion in East Setauket that people did like, why would Dee Snider be living in a mansion in East Setauket? It was that nice. It was one of those kinds of things. And he had this big career where and this is a tangent that has nothing to do with the downtown, except that he played the downtown. But
he was on The Celebrity Apprentice, Part 6. He was fired, but he did not win. But he was on the overall Apprentice season 13, Celebrity Apprentice season 6.
Okay.
Sorry, Dee Snider got fired by Donald Trump.
He got fired by Donald Trump.
Well, Dee Snider had this thing going in the late 90s where all these concert promoters in Europe, because concert festivals are different in Europe. It's kind of like, we'll put a hip hop band and a metal band and a soul band and an oldies act, and we'll all have a good time. And they'd go, hey, we want Twisted Sister. And he'd go, Twisted Sister's not available, but I am, at half the price. And then just fly out for a weekend, do the gig for 60, 70 grand, fly back.
How did JJ French feel about that?
I'm sure he was not happy about that, but JJ French managed Seven Dust, and who else?
I didn't even know that.
Yes.
JJ French looks out for JJ French. Don't worry about him.
Yeah. So that whole list of Long Island legends, they all seem to have played at the Downtown. I remember Glassjaw did.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
Taking Back Sunday.
Taking Back Sunday,
I don't
Straight
know
Line
if
Run,
I don't know if Taking Back Sunday
Brand New.
played there. Did they?
Yeah, 100%.
Because that was the era when Taking Back Sunday was way too big. I remember the Arrogant Sons of Bitches played a show as Taking Back Sunday, doing ska versions of their songs.
That's JT, right?
He was in that band, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember Stray Light Run played their first or second gig ever at the Downtown, but
there were some comedy shows at the Downtown. I remember seeing ads for Jim Brewer, right?
Jim Brewer,
he would play there.
I think I went to that.
Jim Norton.
Jim Norton played there. I think
Right.
I saw him.
You mentioned earlier we saw Stella, which is members of The State from MTV.
Yeah. There was a 2-show-and-a-night Pauly Shore gig that was booked, but I think got canceled due to ticket sales.
Couldn't give enough tickets away.
Maybe
So
not.
let me ask you this. So Darren, you're on Long Island right now. Like, what do you think that if the Downtown was reopened and kind of rebranded, but it was still the Downtown, like, do you think it would have any like gravitas to it, or you mentioned that it's like totally forgotten at this point?
I hope it's not totally forgotten. I'm sure.
Yeah, I find it hard to believe because it seems like a pretty monumental piece of history in Long Island. But
I would imagine that of a certain age, people, it's kind of like a Netflix reboot.
Yeah.
You know how like The Dark Crystal was recently rebooted on Netflix, and there's an age range of like, I don't know, maybe 36 to 41 people who are of that age would be like, oh my God, The Dark Crystal, that's sick, it's coming back. And so I think the Downtown, if they were to reopen, as you suggested, and rebrand, but keeping the name the Downtown, people who are still on Long Island who were around the turn of the century would be just as excited. Give or take 5 years on either end of that range, I don't think anyone would know the difference.
I would say that one of the steps that would be needed to kind of revitalize or immortalize the Downtown would be a person or two, unless this has already happened, putting out a live album, even if it's just on Spotify, from their gig at the Downtown. Because I assume you're both familiar with the venue My Father's Place that was in Brooklyn. Yeah, so My Father's Place was rebooted. Do you say that for real life concepts? Do you say rebooted?
I use it specifically for like TV shows in the streaming era.
Movies and TV.
Movies and TV, yeah. My Father's Place was in Roslyn, right?
It was in Roslyn, and then they remade it into like a hotel-y, cafe-ish kind of venue a couple of years ago. But what My Father's Place can always say is that live recordings came out there, and the Stones and Springsteen and Billy Joel and Ramon, etc. They were all there. What I would say is, if you just saw like if there was a Tripside album, that was the first band that came to mind. If somebody like that put out a live at
Ryan has no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, that was what.
If it's not Fish, I don't know anything.
Yeah.
Did Tripside?
Oh, I know String Cheese. The Zen Tricksters played at My Father's Place.
Yes, they did. Did Tripside almost get signed, Matt? I remember there were label showcases for that.
Yeah, it was a possibility at the time. I know that every Long Island band that we were associated with almost got signed. My band ended up doing a deal with Epic, off the heels of some type of contest or something with AOL. Let me see who else. So Bandcamp was the other one that we came up with that got signed to Atlantic.
Yes.
SGT. Tripside never got signed.
SGT was another one of those like, hey, I think they're going to get signed things. I don't think that happened though.
I don't think so either, but we stole their sax player and made him our bass player.
As Tall as Lions did get signed.
They're on Triple Crown.
Yeah.
And now Dan has like the #1 song like of all time, maybe, with Olivia Rodrigo.
Yeah.
Driver's License.
I didn't realize he co-wrote that. I knew he co-wrote songs by Kimbra and what's her name? What's her name?
He's written everything now.
Guy Ferreira, and then Justin Raisin, who I think got him into the business. He co-wrote lots of songs for Kim Gordon and all that. Yet another band that played.
Well, there's also Ido's Mishlani, who is the singer of my first band. He just has the single for Justin Bieber.
That one I didn't know.
Yeah.
And you said Bandcamp, and
and Matt Bear,
who's married to Hillary Duff.
I just talked to him the other day. He has he just gave birth again, or Hillary did.
Yeah. But
so
produced Shania Twain's last album.
Yeah. You've got a lot of songs. So does Ido, which is awesome. Like, and so does Ryan from Tripside. He works with Max.
Oh, really?
Yeah, him and Max have another project called Party Pupils together. That's just the two of them, but he also plays in Max's band and writes and produces and all that stuff. So everybody's like still very active.
Now that makes you think a little bit, because is it that the people were good, they stuck with it, and then finally in their early 30s things turned around? They just need to wait, so that maybe the downtown just needed to have a couple of lean years, hold on, and then when the downtown would have had its 10-year anniversary party, then it would have been an institution. Makes you think.
But I think did it close down because of Glicker specifically? That's what I recall. Like,
what or who
happened
was
with
Glicker?
Just like something. I don't remember what it was, but it was like Dave Glicker is closing the place down. It didn't have to do with like everybody else there, or maybe I remember it wrong.
I don't want to get sued for defamation. I thought it had something to do with the financier pulling funding. I remember Sam Ash provided the backline, and that either made them a co-owner, maybe they kicked in money too. I think it was an other people's money kind of operation, and people were looking around going, what's the return? This is not a gold mine. Because a lot of people think that the music business is a gold mine, but it's that old joke: how do you make 2 million in the music business? Start with 5 million.
Yeah,
I think that kind of happened with it.
Was it maybe a noise ordinance? Wasn't the downtown not too far from a residential area, or am I?
It was a block away, but I don't think it would be a noise ordinance because it was on a commercial block.
Okay. Was it on 110?
Close.
Okay. I don't remember what the road was called.
It was next to the train.
Yeah, it was right at the train.
Yeah.
What was the street called?
Front Street, was it? Main Street or Front Street?
Probably Main Street.
But I think Crazy Donkey was on 110. It was near Republic Airport.
That's what it was.
Yeah, so maybe the downtown needed to hold on. I see a message.
Long Beach Library.
Always ask a librarian. They will always know the correct answer. So thanks to Janina and team for that. So ultimately, I think we're going to have to do a part 2 on the downtown. Maybe my Facebook friend Dave Glicker will do it. Maybe JT. Maybe Adam Weiser. Maybe Scott Waldman knows all the answers to this. I think those are all questions that have to be answered as part 2. But is there anything that we missed here? Any recollections of good gigs there? Brian, I know you saw Stella with me there. Did you remember if there was a second gig or?
I don't think that I saw many shows at the downtown. Like I said, I was not really on Long Island for much of its operation. And except if there was something like Stella that I was very interested in, I didn't really frequent it. My understanding is, like Matt and you were kind of saying, that it was a big hub for a lot of, and I'm going to probably embarrass myself here, but like ska or kind of younger punk type sound on Long Island. And that was not my scene. I was more likely to go into New York City to Irving Plaza or the Lion's Den,
right,
or some like club venues like that, where it was a more diverse sort of lineup, or in the sense kind of the up in the third rate jam band scene, since Fish was off the table and there is really no second tier. there's like just a huge gap in between them and everyone else, just popularity and business wise. But that was more my scene in the early 2000s, from about 2001 to maybe 2006.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did not see much of anything at the downtown because it wasn't for me.
So is it safe to say, Brian, that you don't know who Diffuser was?
I don't know who Diffuser was, no, but Darren's probably heard of him.
Oh, he knows him.
Yeah, I almost got them a record deal in Japan, but that was the first show that I ever saw at the downtown was Diffuser. So I won't forget that one.
Awesome.
Well, Matt, best way to find you on social media, website, etc. for AFA and yourself?
For AFA, which is my management company, it's at AFA MGMT on all socials. And then my social, if you want to hit me up, is at Matthew Reich, Matthew _ Reich, MATTHEW_REICH.
There you go. Brian, you and Attendance Bias, how do we find you?
The Attendance Bias podcast on Instagram is at attendance_bias, BIAS. And on Twitter is simply at Attendance Bias, all one word.
Well, thanks to you both. And among the mysteries we have to resolve, why did the downtown close?
Glicker next.
I checked it out really quick, by the way. There's a whole thread about the venue on Reddit, and every single post ends with, I don't know why the venue closed. A lot of people are speculating that it was just the business model, that it's just hard for a music venue to stay in like Matt was saying, kind of a mid-size club, that's like bigger than 50 to 100 people, but smaller than a theater, that it's hard to stay in business, especially in an area that's mostly vehicle based, or even though it's right by the train station, it's not like right off a subway stop, for example. So it's a lot of people on Reddit, at least the 4 people who posted there, said that a lot of people have great memories of it, but don't really have any inside scoops on why it closed.
Well, that shall be figured out later on. But more importantly, were there any live albums put out that were recorded at the downtown? And if
tune in next time.
How can we get the downtown live albums to happen on Spotify? So
Snyder Cut, start an online petition.
Exactly. Thank you both. Looking forward to part 2.
Thank you.
Darren.